Thank you very much for the kind introduction. So what I'll do in the next 10 minutes is explore bicuspid aortic valve and answer the question whether we should keep pushing. No major conflicts of interest relating to this talk. So what we'll discuss is briefly the prevalence and significance of bicuspid aortic valve. And then I'll try and give you an outline of what determines exercise prescription and how to go about prescribing exercise and what are the current recommendations. And again, my recommendations are based on the 2020 ESC guidelines on sports cardiology and exercise in individuals with cardiovascular disease. Now, very briefly, this is a typical case of bicuspid aortic valve. You've got a valve that has fusion of the right and the left coronary cusp with a very eccentric jet, which creates lots of issues of aortic regurgitation. It's quite prevalent, 1 to 2% of the general population, depending on what study you look at. And although we used to call it a benign abnormality, which used to ignore, we now know that actually almost a third, if not more, of people may develop significant aortic regurgitation or stenosis, significant valvular disease, not necessarily in their 20s and 30s, but when they reach their 40s and 50s. We also know, as Professor Sharma just said, is that it is associated with a form of aortopathy. And again, that aortopathy can potentially create problems and is something we need to keep an eye on. And in some studies indicate that it may be at increased risk of infective endocarditis as well. Now, the progression of the valvular and aortic disease in people with bicuspid aortic valve is multifactorial, and the impact of exercise still remains uncertain, although we don't have really strong evidence to suggest that the exercise impacts the bicuspid aortic valve in terms of progression of valvular heart disease. However, what are the concerns? The concern is that if you look at valvular heart disease, bicuspid aortic valve with potential aortic regurgitation or aortic stenosis, then that can be associated potentially with dilatation of your left ventricular cavity, hypertrophy of your left ventricle, fibrosis, myocardial ischemia, and aortic dilatation. And already you're figuring out, well, I've heard those terms in the previous talk. Athlete gets aortic dilatation, they get more hypertrophy, and they may even get a dilated aorta. And the concern is that if you put all that with the effects of exercise in terms of adrenergic surges, increase in preload or afterload, exercise-related tachycardia or bradycardia, and chronic structural adaptations that may mimic the changes of valve disease, then you may potentially exacerbate the valve disease in terms of the progression, potentially create an adverse sort of remodeling, because you've got two different entities contributing to the same thing, and potentially predisposed to malignant arrhythmias and sudden cardiac arrest and sudden cardiac death. Now, to answer the question, what determines the exercise recommendations in bicuspid aortic valve, it's two simple things. The first one is the valvular disease. So have you got significant aortic stenosis or aortic regurgitation? And then look at your aorta and see if it is already significantly affected, and look at your aortic root size. So essentially, the questions that you will be called to answer in terms of individuals who have significant valvular disease is, how well is my left ventricle coping? What's its size and what's the function of my left ventricle? Is my athlete symptomatic? Do they have normal functional capacity? And that's where exercise testing comes into place. And potentially, what's the response to exercise in terms of hemodynamics? And if arrhythmia is what we worried for, then it's worth testing for that as well with an exercise testing. Now, this is a summary, if you want, of the recommendations, the ESC recommendations. We've done it in a bit of a different way. And if you concentrate on aortic valve disease, on the left, we've got aortic stenosis. On the right, we've got aortic regurgitation. The first message is, if you focus on the green circle, is that people who have mild valvular disease, you don't necessarily need to go through all the testing. And the great majority of them will be able to perform maximal intensity exercise and participate in all competitive sport. When we go to moderate or severe valvular disease, then we're a bit more tolerant with increased preload aortic regurgitation compared to aortic stenosis. So potential individuals who have moderate aortic regurgitation could participate in all competitive sport, while for aortic stenosis, the guidelines quote low to moderate intensity sports. And those who have severe disease, things become a bit more restrictive. However, as I said before, what you need to look at before you make a decision or recommendation is what my LV looks like in terms of size, in terms of function. Is my athlete symptomatic? Has he got normal functional capacity? Am I seeing any arrhythmias or any abnormal hemodynamic response when I put him through exercise, at least to the level of exercise that he's planning to do? The other thing to look at, obviously, is the aorta, because we said it's valvular disease and degree of aortic dilatation. And if you go here from left to right, you will see that as your aorta becomes more dilated, things become more restrictive based on the guidelines. For those individuals who have an aorta which is just about 40 millimeters, things are a bit more liberal. And as we go past that 45 millimeter and start approaching 50, then things become even more uncomfortable and therefore more restrictive. And the recommendation for considering aortic valve operation and aorta, probably replacement of your proximal aorta, is the number of 50 for bicuspid aortic valve. Now, what are the common challenges in athletic individuals with bicuspid aortic valve? Well, the first challenge is the challenge that you've got with every patient with bicuspid aortic valve. They have that you've got a very eccentric jet that can be quite difficult to quantify in terms of, is it moderate or is it severe aortic regurgitation, or am I sitting in between? And that can potentially be more challenging in athletic individuals. And the reason is exactly what I said before, because sometimes the things that we see with aortic valve disease, we can see with athletic adaptation. And this is a nice transthoracic echocardiogram of an elite cyclist who has very dilated cavities and a ventricle that looks a bit sluggish, as Saran discussed before for us. So the common themes can be the LV cavity dilatation, the LV hypertrophy, the altered LV function, as well as the aortic dilatation. And again, it's important to note that as a cohort, athletic individuals do get a degree of aortic dilatation. And we know that veteran athletes even more so, but you usually wouldn't expect to exceed much that 40 millimeter, irrespective of their height, maybe 41, 42, 43, okay? Now, let's look at a case, because that's the best way to go through things. 31-year-old competitive triathlete. I've given him his size, so he's a moderate height individual, competes at international level. He does 16 hours per week, okay, cycling, running, and swimming. He's completely asymptomatic and comes to one of our screenings where our doctor on clinical examination finds a diastolic murmur. His ECG looks more or less unremarkable. This is his transthoracic echocardiogram, and you can see that this is the parasternal long axis view, a bit oblique, but it looks as if the LV is a bit dilated and the aorta looks quite dilated as well. And you can see that there is a very eccentric jet of aortic regurgitation that heads towards the anterior leaflet of the mitral valve. And if you look at the short axis view, you've got a bicuspid aortic valve with essentially fusion of the right and left cusp with that eccentric jet coming through, which looks more significant in your short axis view. Now, if you try and quantify that particular jet, then the regurgitant fraction comes at about 38% based on the echocardiogram, and that will be within the moderate range. Above 50, we start discussing about severe aortic regurgitation. And then if you look at the actual size of the cavities of that individual, you will know that his left ventricle is actually quite dilated, okay? 70 millimeters in terms of absolute diameters, or 35 millimeters per meter square. It's at the top limit of normal of what has been described in athletic individuals, even in high endurance athletic individuals. His end diastolic diameter is also dilated. And the other thing he's got is an ejection fraction of 70%, so quite a dynamic ventricle, which makes you think that the aortic regurgitation probably has a significant contribution, because Saran was telling us something completely different for her endurance athletes in terms of how the ventricle looks like. Now, the other thing that he's got, which may be a bit helpful in terms of how to manage it, is that he's got a quite dilated aorta. His sinuses of Valsalva are 48 millimeters. So he's starting approaching that sort of range that we're getting quite concerned. Now, we did further investigations, and cardiac MRI can be a very useful test, particularly for eccentric jet, because it can help you quantify the aortic regurgitation as you look at the flow at your ST junction. And his regardant fraction came at 43%, which puts him at that moderate to severe range. And as you can see, he's got quite dilated left ventricle. 340 mL is very dilated LV for any athletic individual. And his sinuses of Valsalva were very similar to what the echo quoted at 48, 49 millimeter. The other thing, as I said, that it's worth doing is a cardiopulmonary exercise test. I prefer a cardiopulmonary exercise rather than simple exercise test, and definitely a simple Bruce protocol exercise test. And obviously, you can look at his functional capacity, which is very important, okay? You think he's an elite endurance athlete. Now, how many of you have athletes that have peak VO2s more than 70 mL per minute per kilogram? Not many, okay? So he's a proper elite athlete and he's properly asymptomatic based on that particular test. He had a normal blood pressure response to exercise and no evidence of arrhythmias. So should our athlete participate in competitive triathlon? Well, he's got a moderate AR, so that's okay. He's asymptomatic with functional capacity. He has absence of exercise-induced arrhythmias. He definitely has a normal LV function. It's hyperdynamic. His ventricle, though, is quite dilated, and it's that sort of limit that we start becoming very uncomfortable, although there may well be contribution from athletic training, and he definitely has a quite dilated aorta that's approaching that sort of surgical number of 50 millimeters. So the answer for this particular individual is ideally not. So what happened with this particular individual? He was discussed in an MDT where there were two different proposals in terms of sticking to low-intensity exercise and watch and wait or proceed with surgery. And eventually, we went on with aortic root replacement and a metallic aortic valve. He has gone back to exercise, and although he does not participate at a competitive level, as you can see, he does 12 hours rather than 15 hours per week of swimming, running, and cycling. And that's what has happened to his ventricle. It has come down in terms of the size from 7 to 57. Well, you may argue that it's partly the fact that he has reduced to some extent the exercise, but he still does quite a bit. So I suspect there is a significant contribution from the aortic regurgitation, and his ejection fraction has remained quite dynamic. So in conclusion, bicuspid aortic valve alone is not a reason to restrict sport. Look at valvular function and look at the aorta. Mild valve disease usually does not require extensive evaluation or restriction for sports. For moderate disease, you have to look at the indices that we discussed in terms of how the ventricle is coping and how the athlete is behaving. And for severe disease, I'm afraid we'll have to be a bit more restrictive. And just before I finish, I'll give you that algorithm that goes through exactly what I told you in terms of evaluating that athlete systematically. And the thing I put there in red is potential exercise testing and what the value of exercise testing in such an individual may be. We don't have much data, so I can't support it, but we do use it occasionally to see in a similar to what Saran was describing, that he's recruiting properly in terms of his LV. Thank you very much for your attention, and I don't need to say anything more about the MSc.